Hello, everyone. We're here. Jessica's in a whole other state.
On
It's
tour?
incredible. Yeah, we're falling into reading.
We
We're
are.
gonna fall into reading for the Wicked Unseen today.
We're
Look
going
at
to
this
fall into the
cover.
wicked unseen.
That's
Will we
right.
return? I don't know.
We'll see.
Seems unlikely. Yes, if you are new here or this is your first time, really quickly, we will be talking about The Wicked Unseen by Gigi Griffis. But first, we'll do a little not sponsored by. This one's going to be a little spooky. Usually, you get to learn a thing or two about one or both of us. Today, it will be Kristen is the star for our not sponsored by. Talking about some of her favorite spooky pieces of media. And then we'll do a gold star segment. We'll talk about this book, give a little description, give our non spoilery thoughts, and then a rating out of 5. And then we'll do the book report where we will be going into spoilers for this one. And I would say spoilers. This is a bit of a thriller mystery. So the spoilers will definitely spoil the ending for this one. And then we'll be visiting the pumpkin patch to hear about what you're picking up from the patch to read. I don't have too much for that, but I'm excited to see what everyone else is getting into this spooky season.
Absolutely. Um, I'm kicking it off with just some of my favorite. I'm not even going to say top because I was like, I can't do it. So these are just some of my favorite spooky graphic novels. We all love those,
Ooh,
right?
a smattering.
Just a little bit of light shimmer, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I have to kick it off with Clementine by Tilly Walden.
Ooh.
The second book came out. I haven't read it yet. I'm very excited. Mine is in the mail right now. But this is great for if you happen to like The Walking Dead. It is set in the universe. However, you don't need that knowledge. This is entirely separate, if you will, different characters. It's really based on the Telltale games, which are
Mm.
wonderful if you've played those. And if you haven't, again, it does a great job of like telling you what happened in those and then like picking it up and continuing. And everyone knows I love Tilly Walden. It's wonderful. Black and white tale of Clementine, who's been through a whole lot in her little short life, and she's going through even more. So it's got the vibes of the zombie worlds, and it's lovely in every way. So you should totally read it. It's great.
Is the second one that just came out, is that the end or is it like going to be an ongoing?
I believe there are going to be 3,
Okay. Okay.
if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. Yeah. So there's that. I also, of course, had to pick Snapdragon, which is one of my all-time favorites. It's a joy to read. I feel like as I'm holding it, I'm like, I need to read it right now again. Like I need to go through it again.
I need to read it for the first time. For
Oh,
shame.
I think you would like it so
I
much. I
know. I
really
know.
do.
I know.
So Snapdragon, set in this town where there's a witch. There's just a great LGBT story as well, and it is a younger audience read, but it doesn't even feel like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that anyway, but it's just it holds its own, right? It holds its own. It's so great. There's witchiness, there's magic, and you're gonna love all the characters. They're just so great. So Snapdragon,
Is that
what
like, would you say that's middle grade or is it younger or?
I think it's middle grade.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to, maybe I'll, while you're talking, just, look at the library real quick.
Yeah, the little tagline on the front is you can find friends in the strangest places. There's
No, it's
also a
so true.
lovely three-legged dog throughout, and he's a joy.
One of the strangest places in the world is the internet, and I have met friends through there. So,
That's right. So some manga in the middle here I'm gonna talk about. Night of the Living Cat. Come on now.
mm,
You, did anyone not expect to have a cat book within this? This truly is like the zombie apocalypse mixed with cats, except instead of zombies, they're like cat zombies,
mm,
kind of. Basically, there's like a virus that cats have. So if you even touch
just
them and
cats.
pet them, yeah, just catch.
Mm,
So like if a person like you're overwhelmed and you must pet the kitty, as you often do, you will turn into a cat.
hmm
So it's like the cat apocalypse. It's so funny and over the top and ridiculous because in the art too, it's really set as like an action manga
Oh,
like aesthetic. But they're all overwhelmed and must pet the cats. So you have to like resist. It's so funny and ridiculous and I love it so much.
it's
So yeah.
Someone wrote that book for
Someone
you.
wrote it, and I was like, "Yep, this is mine."
Kristen, I needed to take a photo, but the owner was like right behind the cat and I felt weird about it. But so we were in this small town in Massachusetts yesterday and we went, I have no clue why this town had a Japanese antique store, Stockbridge, Massachusetts.
Mm.
And it was very interesting. I took lots of photos for Maddie, but my mom like grabbed my arm very suddenly and was like, that cat is real. And Kristen, this was the largest cat I have ever seen in my entire life that was just sitting and it was like purring very like it did look animatronic for a second. This cat
Wow.
was huge. It was the a long-haired gray one. You know, I don't know anything about cats. But I thought about you so much yesterday. We had the cat oil painting I sent you a photo of and
Yeah.
that one.
Love that so
And you
much.
know my Instagram's all cats because of you.
Love it. I adore it. And speaking of more cats, the walking cat. I love this one so much. This is probably, I mean, this is better than Night of the Living Cat, but it's also a chunker and it's like one and done,
Whoa.
right?
Oh, we love that.
Yeah, and it truly is the zombie apocalypse, but you're seeing it from the cat's perspective.
Is this the blood on the tracks guy? Or
No,
person? Oh, okay.
no,
Okay. Okay.
but it truly is a cat's eye view of the zombie apocalypse. So you follow this cat the whole time throughout. You know, it starts out with its owner, um, his owner, her owner. I can't remember.
Their
Their
owner.
owner, yeah. And you know, as you do sometimes in the apocalypse, you lose your owner, you go from people to people. What happens? It's lovely and wonderful, and maybe you'll cry a little, but it's worth it. And I love it so much. So I'm gonna have to reread this too.
That actually sounds like one I think I would enjoy too.
I feel like you would.
Okay.
I feel
Okay.
like you would. Maybe you wouldn't enjoy Shiver though by Gigi. So
Nope. I can't even look at the cover. I will avert my eyes while you talk.
This is one of his short story collections. I love so much from him, but this is maybe my favorite short story collection. It has a lot of great ones. I believe the man in the chair is in this one. I think Maddie talks about that one a lot. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's also the one with the balloon heads. Love that one. I feel like that's all I have to
A
say.
classic. The
It's a
balloon
classic.
heads.
It's a classic.
Hmm.
It wouldn't be me if I didn't mention the Crossroads of
Uh,
Midnight.
and I'm gonna second this one.
It's so good. There are five. Yeah, there are five short stories in this. They're all very different. They're all from Abby Howard, and they're incredible. This is something I try to reread every year during this time. I will be reading it again, and it's all just they're so good. And to actually perfect a graphic novel short story is so difficult. And I think this whole collection. Usually, there's like one where you're like, ugh, in an
Always.
anthology. None of these. Like I loved every single one. This is 5 stars easy. And if you haven't read it, you got to pick it up. It's great.
It's also got a great cover.
Yeah, it does. And then you
That's
can
so
put your
cute.
eye through it.
Love
Love
it.
that.
Do it
Love
again.
that.
People need to see it one more time.
Just the whole show.
Just yeah, through there. No, I love that one, and my library does have the first. I think I actually have it at home before I left. I should have packed it. Has the first of the is it called Tales? The other one that's like a part one and part two.
Is it
Halloween.
the last Halloween? Is that what
The
it's
last
called?
Halloween
Yeah,
part one, and
I
then I
think
think
that's
part
what it's
two
called.
hasn't come out yet, right? But it
To
is
my
soon.
knowledge, it hasn't. Yeah, yeah. I need to look that up actually. And finally, the last one on my list today is, of course, Harrow County.
So good.
It's so good. The art's incredible. The writing's great. It's all just it's great. It's great. If you haven't read it yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Again, spoopiness all throughout. There's magic, there's creepiness. It's all just great. And you need to read it. And I mean, this beautiful art.
Yeah, show the art. That's what I was
The
gonna ask you.
beautiful art throughout.
It's
I
just the
mean,
right amount of everything, like when all the adjectives you just said, it was like they are all there in perfect amounts. Like it isn't so scary, but it actually is genuinely creepy at times
yeah,
without like being gross out. I don't know. It just strikes such a balance. It's such a good universal rec for. I think that was a great pick. I haven't read
absolutely.
the
The
what's the
tales.
like yeah the tales. Yeah, I have
I
the
haven't either.
first trade, but I haven't cracked it open. I have to confess.
I picked up the hardcover and I haven't cracked it open yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, I need to.
I'm
Maybe
sure it's
maybe
great.
this is the time. Yeah.
I'm sure it's great. Well, and I know you'll say hi to everyone who's joined us, but folks, do feel free to put some of your favorite spooky graphic novels in the chat.
Please.
Would love to see what those are.
Yep, absolutely. And hello, not Scott Stapp. Hi, Cycle. Is this about a ghost from Boston? You'll see.
Also, that was a really funny joke. I just want
Yeah.
to say, Cycle. It's the
It's a good
wicked
one.
unseen. I
It's a
can't
good
do
one.
it. Doesn't quite work.
Hello, Danny. How you doing? Hi, James.
Ooh,
Elon, you just made it. Thank you for being here.
just in time.
Oh, it's the Spook
Ooh,
Fabulous, just
love it.
Jessica and her well-picking host friend. Doesn't even know my name. Very rude, Freddie. Hi, nice to see
Kirsten.
you.
Freddie, you missed an opportunity to do CURSE, curse 10. I just want to say
That is a missed
that was
opportunity.
some rookie October punning there.
Loved her growth in the video game. Yeah, Clementine's growth is so good. So good.
That was a fun. I don't usually like those choose. I don't. What do they call it? You know, I don't do video games normally.
Yeah, kind of like a choose your own adventure. I
Choose
don't
your
know
own
what they're called.
adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually I don't like them, but Maddie had recommended that when I got an Xbox because I lived in a hole until then. And I did genuinely enjoy it. Yeah.
Good times. Happy Sunday. I just pulled Joe Hill's Plunge off the shelf
Ooh.
to read soon. I've read that one. I'll
How'd
be
you like
curious
it?
your thoughts.
Ooh, not it wasn't good.
I remember maybe being in the middle about it. I can't.
Okay.
I'll have to
The
check
middle's
Goodreads.
fine.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Mara.
Hey,
How you
Mara.
doing? Okay. I can't stay busy, so getting that peak. Bothering the Glorious Slayer now as she shows some of the best fall books ever. Snapdragon for Awesome Jessica. You do need to read it.
I know. I saw the library does have it. I need to put a hold on it after.
Oh, this book is the best. Which one? I missed it. I missed when you
I
said that.
know.
I haven't read any Clementine because I don't know anything about the games and I'm beyond sick of Walking Dead. Well, I gotta tell you again, if it didn't have anything to do with the video game, like you wouldn't know it was part of the Walking
I
Dead universe.
agree.
It just is because of the video game character and the video games. I feel like a lot of people love those games who don't even like the show. So I wouldn't let that deter you from its cycle.
Yeah, even the themes, the tone, the themes, it's just completely different. Absolutely.
The vibes. Oh yeah, Tumnel's coming up.
I'm really excited for that. Has my library, I've been number 1 on the list for 2 months, whenever we picked this out, and it still hasn't arrived, so I may wind up getting a copy. We'll see.
We'll see. A great short prose book, which is Stephen King's favorite short story collection, is The Great God Pan.
Oh.
The Great God Pan. Hold on, I'm writing it down, Elon. I'll check it out. The Great. Interesting.
Good name. Strong name.
Cool.
Ooh, Elon's read The Walking Cat. Okay, I need to do it. Let me make a note so I don't forget. I'll forget.
Oh, only when Elon reads it, you want to? Okay.
No, I just
No,
it
I'm just
reinforced it.
You're like, oh, it's not just Kristen who loves all cat books.
No, what did I say when you showed it? I said, I think I might
It's
like that
fair.
one. You know, sometimes I just need a little push.
I get you. I'm glad you loved it too.
The Walking Cat.
It is the best.
I also like some of the ones you show when they are ongoing. I'm like, yeah, I could read that. But it's like when I'm not like, I really want to do that, I just know there's so much else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get that.
My library doesn't have The Walking Cat, but they do have Pete the Cat. I love my white shoes.
Oh.
So. And then What the Cat Dragged In, which looks like a romance. And this one, real quick, Molly and the Cat Cafe. One homeless cat, one little cafe, a place to call home. Somebody better get this cat a home ASAP. That's a cute cat.
I need that book.
It's by Melissa Daly.
I need it.
Now I'm just okay, I gotta stop. It's a rabbit hole. Hey Mary.
Hi Mary, who's I think in the car traveling. Love that.
I hope if you stop at the Ollies, you get a good find.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Well, I loved those spooky things. I got to add to my list.
Love that.
Yeah. And I agreed with a lot of them.
Wonderful.
Now we'll move into our pick, not a debut, but the second book and first YA book from this author. Gigi Griffis, The Wicked Unseen. I'll read the back real quick so people have an idea if you haven't read it, just to get an idea of what it's about. It says, "Something wicked comes this way." It's not from Boston, unfortunately. Yes.
May I real quick?
Yeah.
The blurb on the back says a fantastic love letter to classic slashers and a triumphant debut.
Which is weird.
It's not a debut?
Well, when I went to their Goodreads, this author had one other book that's just has a adaptation
Huh.
for Netflix that looks like it came out first. But you know what? It was foreign language. So maybe this is the first in US, like mainstream
Mm.
publisher, and the other one came out. Because I think this author is from America. And let me tell you, when we get into this book, you've got to be from America, like to come up with these
Yeah.
things in your head. But she now lives in Portugal with her family, but she is
Okay.
originally from the US. Um, so yeah, maybe it is the debut. I will say it's not a major author, so I still felt good supporting a newer author.
Yeah, for sure. Oh,
Um,
well, her author bio says on the back, The Wicked Unseen is her debut YA novel.
YA. Yeah, the other one's
So,
adult, and I think it's about a queen of Portugal at some point. And there is a Netflix show that's I think already out, but it is foreign language. So it's not like come up, I don't think, on mine a ton. But yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about what it's about, and then we'll do our gold star segment. So no spoilers at the beginning, but from the moment you did the audiobook. So is this Audra? Uh,
yeah, I
okay.
think so. Yeah.
From the moment
Mm,
Audra arrived.
maybe Audrey?
Okay. From the from
I
the
can't
moment
remember.
Audra, somebody arrives in rural Pennsylvania, it's clear she won't fit in. After all, her nose ring, her horror movie obsession, and her family's Ouija board collection aren't likely to endear her to a town convinced there's a secret satanic cult conducting rituals in the nearby woods. When the preacher's daughter and Audrey, somebody's crush, Elle goes missing on Halloween weekend, the town is quick to point fingers in Audrey's direction. Audra, we don't know. With the cops busy harassing her family for being non believers and everyone else convinced demons are to blame, Audra mm, realizes she might be the only person who can find her friend. But the deeper Audra digs, the weirder it gets. Has Elle fallen victim to a satanic ritual, or is the town's obsession with the occult covering up something even more sinister? The Wicked Unseen. So, Kristen,
Yeah,
what are some of your initial thoughts, non spoilery overall thoughts?
non spoilery. Okay. Well, I'm like, how do I
There's a lot.
even start without spoiling stuff? As you
And
heard, there's a cult.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I was looking forward to the cult. I feel like I can't continue that sentence.
Okay,
What are your thoughts? And maybe you can help me here.
sure. So, first off, this is a short book, it's 260
It is.
pages. Um, so some of the things that pulled us to pick this, I kind of want to start there if that's okay. Doesn't say this on the back, but it takes place in the 90s, and I do think that was one of the things I really liked about it. And it was heavier at the beginning, but like it said, Audrey, she loves horror movies, and so there was a lot at the beginning that was like a sense of place and time in the 90s, like a lot of the references, especially horror movies. Um, it was kind of reminding me of in Scream, there's a teenager in the first movie and maybe some others, I won't say whether they die or not, that is truly obsessed with horror movies and so sees everything by the rules of a horror movie. And I would say Audra does too at the beginning. And I thought that was a really engaging quality at the beginning of the story. So I did like that sense of place and time. We also picked this potentially because I heard there might be a romance, and I will say there's very little romance in here. She does have a crush, as the back says, but there isn't too much of that. So that part, a little bit of a letdown. But yeah, I enjoyed the narrator. I enjoyed the 90s setting. I knew from the back of the book, and this is something that I think we can non spoilery talk about, that I know you and I talked a little offline about. This town is filled with like conservative evangelicals, and there is this potential that you're thinking throughout the course of the book, and it is a mystery thriller, so we won't say whether it's real or not, of like, is there a satanic cult? But you also know it's taking place during the satanic panic where people were um, kind of in a fervor, I guess you could say, where there really wasn't something to be concerned about. They would like attach meaning to things they saw or heard, etc. And when one person is doing that and a group of people are doing that, other people are like, "Oh, I see that," or "I hear that too." It's just like a phenomenon we have as human beings. But I will say, this is really heavy-handed with how conservative this town is and these people are. I'll stop there and I'll let you respond to that, and then I'll kind of talk about some of the examples that stuck out to me.
I do agree. It was very heavy-handed with that. And, you know, as we talked about, it's not like we don't believe, I mean, obviously these people exist. These people very much exist. We live in Kentucky. We know, right? But it felt, I mean, it's truly like everyone but like her and her friend.
Mhm.
It felt like throughout most of it. I agree with you as far as like the 90s setting. I was looking forward to like more references to those
Me
sort of
too.
things
It
though.
fitted. I felt like it did have a
Yeah.
lot at the beginning and a little at the very end, but the middle, not at hardly at all.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the initial, things that I thought would happen that were introduced to the beginning did fade
Mhm.
throughout the middle and the majority of the book.
Mm.
Even the crush, like you said, there's not much of that, but that is the driving force at the same time of the
Mhm.
entire story.
Yeah, so the almost the whole novel is told through Audra's perspective. However, there are a couple of chapters interspliced in the middle after Elle has gone missing, which again is not a spoiler, that's the premise of the book, that are from Elle's perspective, the days leading up to when she goes missing. And, you know, a big thought that I had once I was completely finished is I actually think I would have enjoyed this so much more if it was both of their perspectives throughout the whole
Mhm.
book. Even Elle's not giving away what happens to Elle, like still leading up to that point, but starting earlier. I think I would have enjoyed it more. I would have cared more about Elle. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't care. I was still like, I definitely going through this was like, what happened? I want to know what happened. At no point was I like bored trying to figure out what happened. But I just felt like it would have been a more whole story, particularly the heavy handed references, because while Elle's chapters do go into her sort of starting to question some of the things she's being taught, which I think is important and interesting. If we had gotten more of that, I think it would have come across as a bit more of a holistic approach to the people in the town, you know what I mean? Seeing them from her perspective. Um, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I wish there was more of Elle's perspective in here.
I agree. If it would have been like a back and forth situation, so we could understand more of everything that's going on as it's happening, as well as the motivation for her to even find Elle was, "Oh, I have a crush on this person."
So here's
That's
my
Go ahead.
here okay, so I'm going to take us back to summer reading program. Not the
Mhm.
90-degree weather. I'm loving this fall weather. I don't know what it's like down there, but I'm living my best life up
It's like
here, I got to
50
tell you.
something right now.
Okay, that's good. That's better than
Yeah,
110.
absolutely.
Um, it kind of reminded me a little bit. Do you remember in Imogen? Obviously, not a major spoiler, but there was that one character that was portrayed like so awful.
Mm.
And everything she said was awful. And like some of the stuff she said was genuinely awful. But other times it was really like made worse from the other person's perspective. And I felt this way through this book was like without spoilers, like there are Audra is looking for something to be mad about because she's a teenager. I want to say this. The things in the town are so accurate. There was not a single thing about growing up conservative evangelical in this book that was unfamiliar to me. The barrage of it though was a little bit much it felt. But I think the moments where people were a bit more fleshed out and that surprised her didn't happen until the end. You know, like she has a conversation with some of the people that she sort of stereotyped in one way at the very, very end, and it changes her mind. But it was kind of obnoxious how, to me, throughout the course of the book, how she was always right. She was always skeptical and she was always right. And that's also why I think she went after her, is because she knew something bad is going on, because something has to be bad going on. It has to be these people, because she was looking for that. And again, I'm not saying like it wasn't there, but it was a bit teenager-ish. Teenagers are kind of can be like that. So I don't know, but I totally agree. And I see some of the references in the chat. So many Pokemon being demonic.
Oh yeah, yeah. D&D, it's
D&D
Noir said, of
being
course.
demonic. I'm trying to think. The Michael W. Smith bumper stickers, that was one. The a whole conversation about one of the plots that's in here is Elle is dating someone seriously when she meets Audra, and that person's a bit older, and he's like, "Well, God told me we're going to be together," and she's like, "Well, why would God not tell me?" You know what I mean? And she's making great points, and it would have been interesting to hear more from her perspective about that. So all of that was very familiar. Like I said, it didn't ever jump a line. There was no example in here. It was just how many and how frequently. And for the main character to be this teenager that's just always right was just, that was the part in the middle that didn't quite work for me as well.
Well, and even what I was trying to get at was like her crush happened very fast,
Hmm.
and then Elle was gone.
Hmm. Yeah, they have
So
about 24 hours. They go to a hell house together,
yeah,
which if you're not from America, I don't know. Do they have these in Europe? Somebody chime in.
I don't
Let's see.
know.
What do other parts of the world have these? A hell house is like a Christian haunted house where in each of the rooms it's like, ooh, you drank or you did this, so you're gonna go to hell, and it's just like demons in the hell house rooms. So they go to that, and that's one of the last things that they do together, pretty much. Um,
Super romantic.
hey, if you're a little goth girl like Audra, maybe it is. She was traumatized. She was like,
Yeah, she was
oh my
traumatized,
gosh.
which is understandable. But yeah, it just felt like it was hard. I mean, obviously, I cared about what happened to Elle, but at the same
Hmm.
time, I didn't know much about Elle, and our main character didn't either. You know, she was just like, I like her.
I was sympathetic. I'm a pastor's kid, if no people don't know that. And so I was kind of like, I think I had that attachment to her in the sense because she's like this young kid, her parents the minister, and she is starting to question things. This was like in the 90s. Relatable. I couldn't be more relatable. So I think in that sense, probably I had this little bit of connection with her, maybe that you didn't. But I agree, it happened fast. Honestly, other than I wanted both perspectives, this could have been 100 pages longer and have
Mm,
all these things flesh out. And I actually think I would have really liked it much more than I won't say what my score is, but like what I did.
yeah,
I think it
I
could have used more.
I agree with that, and I'm not saying I didn't care about Elle. I'm saying
Mhm.
it was hard for me to see why the main character
Mm.
cared
Because
so
she's a
much about
teenager with
her.
hormones, Kristen.
Well,
Do you
okay.
not remember? Did it really take that
Not
much
after
for
like
you?
24 hours and then being like, let me take down this cult I think's happening. Like,
Well, you don't know what love is then.
it's so true.
I'm bookmarking through some of my um yeah, some of my tabs. I don't know if there were other, I guess we can walk through. You and I messaged each other, like, how are you feeling about it? And we were both like, I didn't expect it to be as much as it is. And we weren't sure what each other were talking about. And both of us wound up talking about it was just the heavy religious references. And, some of them weren't all like off the wall, like D&D, and some of them weren't all incredibly oppressive. Some were like funny to me, like everyone knows the prayer list is just the gossip list. It's like a reason to gossip. Like this is going on, so we got to pray for them. That was kind of like funny in that sense. But I do think actually it got a lot darker than I thought it was going to in some ways. In
Hmm.
You aren't sure, we won't spoil whether it's real or not because you're in Audra's head, and Audra is like, there's a logical explanation. It's just these people, someone from probably the church has harmed her, or one of the people in her circle. But actually, you have this other side plot, which was quite serious, where essentially the police believe it to be her dad. They live near a graveyard. A grave was dug up right next to their house. Audra is finding things in her investigation with her friend. And then the police, maybe run there at the same time. They're like, how did you conveniently know this was here? And one of them is like this kind of altar with a pentagram in what she thinks is blood or what they think is blood and like animal bones. And so you're also like kind of questioning throughout the course of the book, is it real? Is it not real? And when Kristen and I checked in, I was like, maybe the heavy handed references are because there is some kind of thing at the end where they're in like a cult. Like it's looking like it's this kind of typical, maybe conservative evangelical space, but maybe actually there is something more going on. And we won't say whether that's true or not. But I mean, we weren't sure. We really weren't for most of it when we checked in. And I think that is a mark of, I think that was good writing because it's good pacing, good red herrings. I didn't ever feel sure until the very end, honestly.
Yeah, same for sure.
Um, did you have any characters that you liked the most, or like points of view in the story that you thought were interesting?
I liked her bestie throughout it. David, he was a I mean, there wasn't enough of him. It's again one of those like, okay, give me 100 more pages and then maybe I can get more of like this character as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because he did, especially what happened at the end and him confronting her about certain things that we can go into later. I
Okay, yeah.
liked that and I feel like there could have been more conversation there
Yes.
and especially throughout it and stuff from his perspective because he's really like the one friend she has at the school
Mm-hmm.
and she puts a lot of trust into him and he's there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we still didn't quite get enough of him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's the teenage. You don't get much of the teenagers at the school at all, honestly. Like you get Audra. She has a mom and a dad. She has a younger sister, Volga, which is a really powerful name. And then you have David. You have Elle. You have Elle's friend Monica. Um, Ryan doesn't go to the high school, who's Elle's boyfriend at the time she goes missing. So there aren't too many teenagers. There are like unnamed teenagers that pop in here and there, but yeah, I could have used more of him for sure. One of my favorite characters was the mom. I really liked her.
Mm.
I thought she handled conversations around religion in a really interesting way. There was one time Volga was like wanting to go to church, and she's younger. She's like 10 because, all her friends at the school in this town they moved in to go to church, and she wants to fit in. And her mom was like, church is like a grown up place where you make a grown up decision to go. And, whether you feel one way or the other on that, I just kind of liked how sometimes she approached when Audra was questioning people and she was like, well, some people do things this way because teenagers, no matter what their beliefs are very headstrong often about them. And so I liked that the mom like balanced it out. I just thought she was really interesting. She was really open to conversations with Audra. And I just thought she was a good parent figure. So I like seeing that in books because sometimes YA books, the parents are like, an obstacle or whatever. But Audra really loves her parents and they're really smart people and they're really intelligent and intentional people. And I really liked that part of the story.
Yeah, she was really great. I feel like that's another character though, where it's like I still wish we could have
Yeah,
gotten
you
more.
go. Of course. Yeah, no, I feel that way too. I feel
And
that way too.
perhaps had it been like multiple perspectives, like if I would have been able to jump into her head for a little bit of this, that would
Hmm.
have been really fun.
I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, at the very least, I want an L. I want every other chapter to be L, but
Mm.
I kind of agree it'd be cool to have maybe the mom or even the dad. The dad story, if you told this story from his point of view, he's like being framed in this town he
Yeah.
moved to because he does investigations and he writes books and reports. And one of the things he did was he investigated what it's like to be in the Church of Satan. Was that what it's called? Yeah,
Hmm.
like a Satanist. And so he joins temporarily in another state, and so there's record of that, and the police somehow find out, which feels very unbelievable, but that's fine.
But it's the 90s.
It's the 90s. It's fine. And so, he gets all this stuff pinned on him. We won't say whether it's the truth or not, but like clearly the police are targeting him very early in the book. And so I was like, dang, that's pretty wild. And he keeps his like he really keeps his cool. There are several instances where he, like, of course, Audra gets snapped up when she's doing her investigations because she's like meddling in the police's business throughout the course of the book, and he's like, you don't, you have to know your rights, and he's very, I don't know, they were just such good adult figures for her to be raised with, which honestly, Kristen, now that I'm like talking about it, that also makes me think like, yeah, you would just go investigate this girl because she's like on a righteous path. She's raised by people who are like, they're very they have strong convictions. It's kind of interesting because she doesn't love the strong convictions of some of the people in her town because they go against what she believes. But actually, her parents have they're very open minded, but they are very strong convictions, particularly about knowing your rights in this country and or in the U.S. Um, so it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh,
Let me get caught up in the chat
yeah.
a little bit. We love a Mary Carr moment, aka Mobile Library. That is exactly what her vehicle is. I'm only here to see
Oh.
if Rita's heard the band Spy. Danny, I wrote that down. He's not here right now, but I will ask him when he's back. I'll let you know. Mayor's coming for you, Mara. She's bringing the library to you.
Mara,
That's
you
funny.
need to get a library card.
Seriously, change your life.
At least by the new year. Make it a resolution.
Yeah. Gonna take this opportunity to recommend The Name of the Wind again. I usually start the
Yeah.
audiobook every October. There's another book in the series dropping soon.
Ooh, Noir Wolf. Is there a date for that book? Because that was why I told Kristen not to read yet, because the book was going to take forever. Is there a date?
Yeah, that's more appealing to me if it's right there. So then I don't have to like reread it again, you know?
Yeah, because I need to reread.
Yeah, that's one I'm keeping on my radar. I wrote it down again. It was hard being a D&D player in the 80s, yeah. Which my dad's mentioning too.
Yeah, I want to hear more about that if people want to share. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, he said I lived through that. My mom believed whatever Phil Donahue told her. I can see your mom believing that.
Yeah. I didn't play D&D, but I wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter growing up, amongst many other things.
The description of the Wicked Unseen reminds me a little of My Best Friend's Exorcism, which is a really good spooky season book.
I want to read that. That one is Grady Hendrix, right, Catherine?
Yeah.
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 That's on my list.
I also want to read that. Let's see. Mara, stay vigilant. Who wants to go to libraries and have to be quiet? Danny, don't do that to her. Don't give her more excuses. You guys should read about the Satanic Panic. It's fascinating. This book sounds more subdued than what actually happened.
My favorite murder has a good Satanic Panic
Yeah.
episode that I remember. I actually would go back and listen to more podcasts. I think that's a topic I would rather be a podcast gal on.
I agree with you. Google the McMartin preschool trial. Read the Wikipedia page on it.
Yeah, that's the one they covered in. Do you remember that episode of
I
My
do
Favorite
remember
Murder?
that. Yeah.
James, if you can
That's a
find
good
that, I would
one.
be so impressed. Because it was a good episode for people to listen to. Yeah, that was really interesting because like I've always understood it to be the 80s as well, but this is the 90s. But what I will say is like the return of the puritanical movement and making it modern and like cool with modern worship music. So I didn't mean to do that. It's cool to some people. Was very 90s. So I do think she took creative liberty in meshing those because like growing up, there were things. I don't think people were like this was satanic, but there were things where it was like don't do that. It's like of the devil or something like that. So maybe it's similar.
I know my dad's in here. Dad, do you recall when I wasn't allowed to wear black nail polish growing up? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. That's the thing I wasn't allowed
Called
to
you
do.
out on blast. Were you allowed to watch Harry Potter and read Harry Potter?
I didn't, so perhaps I wasn't. I don't remember. But I watched Buffy when I was a teenager, so
I did. I was allowed to as well. I don't understand.
Yeah.
It was very uneven.
Yeah.
Hey, Batman.
Hey, Batmanda. Oh, by 2025, I will get a library card. Mara, I'll see you
Okay,
in
because it will be a
2025.
2024 resolution.
Nice.
I'll drive right now. I'll be there in tomorrow and get you there.
The library just got a book I've been waiting on. I'm so excited. It's the third book in the I don't know how to say it trilogy.
Davabad. I think it's who's the author, Batmanda, for I know exactly what she's talking about. I haven't read them though. Is that Saba Tahir's trilogy or no? Come back to us.
I hear about her all the time.
Because I want you to read the All My Rage, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
If I was at my desk and my shelf, it'd be a lot easier.
Danny, I appreciate that. I wasn't allowed to listen to or read, watch basically anything that wasn't bland nonsense. Cycle, that's messed up.
I'm gonna tell you though, things I did love, the Veggie Tales. They went hard. Reliant K,
I
still one of
mean,
my favorite bands of all time.
Reliant K forever, yeah.
So there were some decent things about being raised in a place like this as well.
It's
James got the episode.
oh,
Oh, sorry.
it's not the third main book, just another novella. Hey, I love a novella though. Okay, thanks, James. Episode 145. Yeah, that's an early one.
Yes. It's a good episode. If you're a podcast person, that was a good one.
It's the
Shannon
author.
Chakraborty. Okay, yep, got mixed up.
I think that no black nail polish wasn't because it was satanic, just a choice we didn't allow you to make. We were never all that religious. But why couldn't I make the choice then? Make it make sense, Dad. That's one I won't forget because I really wanted to. So then I got like this really dark purple nail polish
Ooh,
that was like
you're so rebellious.
nearly black, but it was purple. Yeah, I won't forget it.
That is really. I feel like though, okay, so like parallel, yeah, these people are religious, but I will say, like, you certainly can be someone who's not religiously motivated and still make sort of these like sometimes they're like patriotic, sometimes they're like a puritanical thought that's not related to religion. Because I know a lot of kids growing up who did not grow up religious, but their parents were like, you can't be goth because it's like, I don't know, against society, like
Evil.
random, yeah. But it's like they weren't religious people. It was very interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. My Rage is excellent.
Yes, that's the one.
Cycle's still saying the Wikipedia articles the way to go.
One or the other. If you visual or you want to read.
Lion K is named after an unfortunately bad car. I never understood that. Look, band names are weird.
Because they were beat down. They were 20-year-olds doing their best in Canton, Ohio.
Yeah, you know the history.
Girl, you don't understand. When we went to the Christian bookstore, because the internet was like, I mean, we had Jeeves, but like that guy was so slow.
Oh yeah.
And I would be like, is there a new Reliant K CD? And I still have them all physically. They're like the only physical CDs really that I kept. Yeah.
I think I still have them all too at my parents' house.
Yeah.
We had Wear Pink Day in school for cancer. We had to pay up if we did not wear pink.
Whoa.
While also doing charitable collections. What? So while I was sleeping, my sister painted my nails pink the day before. Well, that's
that.
nice.
That's kind of cool. I never heard of that kind of thing.
That is pain when you don't. That's so
That's
wild.
kind of it's a little unfair. Like, what if you didn't have it and you were like low income? That's a bit unfair, but it's interesting.
Weird. I was allowed to go to church growing up. LOL.
Oh, interesting.
I was definitely allowed to read and watch all the things. Maybe it's because my mom's a hippie, not sure. Interesting.
Yeah.
Just if you love fantasy, you should read that series. The world building is on the scale of the name of the wind.
Okay. Yes, it is on my radar. This is how I knew the name, but I thought it was Sabaa Tahir. She has a different fantasy trilogy. I thought I'm mixing it up with, but it's definitely somewhere in my list, Batmanda, for sure. It's YA, I think, right? She's gonna be like, no, it's not. You've gotten all of these facts wrong. You don't know the author. And you know what? She's right.
My dad had whole TV channels blocked. Wow. A guy from the
too.
cable company had to come climb the pole and block them at the box up there. I specifically remember what a fuss it was. That's wild.
Ours, you had to put a pin in for certain channels. Yeah. This is one of my favorite memories was I wasn't supposed to see Spice World. I'm not really sure why, if I'm honest. Sometimes I don't know as an adult why. But my friend got it on VHS from Blockbuster for my sleepover, and it's PG-13. And so her mom asked, "Are you allowed to watch this?" And I said, "Oh yeah, my mom said it was fine." And I remember feeling like this is the most illicit thing. And it was so tame. It'd be like rated G today.
I mean, when all the guys dancing turned around and their butts were out, what'd you do?
I don't remember
You
what my
remember
initial reaction was. I was probably like in a heightened state of like, I can't believe I'm this rebellious. Kind of like when you had the
that?
dark purple nail polish. You were like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna show the man.
Oh, you don't have to worship Satan to smoke and drink. I've never
Heard,
smoked and drank as a kid,
wow.
or I've never smoked ever.
Wow. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
We're learning things.
So you usually have plenty of freedom. I'm not saying I didn't. I'm just confused about the nail polish thing. Do you remember the thoughts behind the nail polish? Was it what Cycle said? The nail polish crowd were bad? Because I was just like, well, Oz and Spike on Buffy are wearing black nail polish. I want to wear black nail polish.
What did your parents say about like tattoos when you were little? Do you
Um,
remember?
I don't know, but I got my first tattoo when I was 18, and I was
Wow.
still in
What
high
was the
school.
response though? Like, what was the vibe when you came home?
They weren't stoked about it, and
Okay.
also it was bigger than I think they thought it would be.
Okay.
But it was still like they knew about it. They knew it was happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, Larry, trying to
Nobody.
find something.
Yeah. Nobody let me forget my peak nails. Oh, at least you didn't have to pay. And weird podcast when it comes to getting the most factual, complete view of something. Okay.
Well, I'm weary sometimes a little bit about Wikipedia
I was
as
gonna
well.
say
So I
there's
think it's
something to
like
be
a
said
coin
about
toss.
that.
Do both, cross reference, and
Yeah,
then find the differences.
that sounds good.
Oh yeah, see there, yeah.
I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons.
I wasn't either. And this lady from my church, she was like babysitting me. And this was when Burger King had toys back in the day. You got like that paper crown. You know what I'm talking about? And they had
Oh yeah.
Simpsons toys. And she got the meal to get me one. And my mom, my mom let me keep it. But the irony was like I wasn't allowed to watch the show. So I just like randomly had this Bart Simpson toy for a good part of my life, but wasn't allowed to watch.
Oh, that's fun. I remember my mom didn't want me to watch Beavis and Butthead,
Oh, I wasn't allowed to watch
understandably.
that either.
But I remember staying up late with my dad to watch it. Dad,
Oh, that was a shout out, Larry. See, you have
shout out.
free.
That
You
was
gave her
pretty cool.
freedoms. Also, your mom's watching and she's like, Larry,
Excuse me.
excuse me?
My granddad accidentally bought me the South Park movie on VHS thinking it was a cartoon. I'm still traumatized. Oh my
Oh, that's
gosh.
kind of hilarious, though. I love it.
That is. Okay, it's not YA. You
Nice.
called it. Now book one is
Ember in the Ashes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that series is.
The good news is I knew all the Sabbath to Hear stuff, even though that wasn't actually relevant in any way to anything Batmanda was saying.
She almost as much reading as well. That's funny. See if you fell in with a nail polish crowd, you'd be smoking and drinking right now. I stand behind Larry's nail decision. Okay, your mom just weighed in. Here we go. Live on air, just weighing in. She said it was no black nail polish at first because we didn't want to hear my mother complaining about it. She eventually, you were able to. So I remember.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't think my dad's parents know to this day that I have a tattoo, and I have like 4.
Oh, you mean like any
Yeah.
They don't know you have any tattoo.
Yeah, I just make sure to cover this one when I'm around them.
You're like in a turtleneck, long sleeves.
Yeah.
You've got like a hat on, a scarf. And it's like 90 degrees in the summer.
Yep. I'm painting walls in my house black out of principle. Love that for you.
Ooh, love that. I love a black accent wall with like some really cool shelving. And
I agree.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Ren and Stimpy show's better than. I mean, I agree.
I wasn't allowed to watch Ren and Stimpy either.
I watched it, but I remember parts. Those tattoos are going to look crappy when you're old. Here I am, covered in vibrant, glorious tattoos of 42. There you go. There you go. All right. I think we're giving gold stars. What did you give this?
Oh yeah. I was like, oh, are we moving?
You're like, what are we talking about?
I just loved hearing everyone's like things they weren't allowed to do.
Yeah.
Fun. This was tough for me. I want to say there were things I really liked about it. But you know what you said? I just wish it was longer, or I just wish this person had more. Those are really my main criticisms. Even the heavy-handed nature of the people at that church. I can kind of be like, yeah, in a book, you have to really drive home your point. I feel like none of it's super unrealistic, but it just needed moreness of everything that it was giving. But I feel like the bones were good. So I think I'm landing at about 3.5. I think it's better than fine. I actually do think she took some big swings. I wanted to know the end so badly. I read this pretty quickly. So yeah, I think it's a 3.5. It's better than just fine, but it's not quite, I wouldn't say it's very good. Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at. How
Okay.
about you?
I landed on 2.
Whoa. Hold on, everyone. Let's all I think you gave
Hold
that
on.
one Superman book like a 3.
It's true. What's happening? I don't know. Was it a 3 though? I don't know. Here's the
She's
deal.
still to this day, she's trying to take her scores back. We all were there. We all saw. Roll the tape.
Roll the tape. Someone will.
Hmm.
Someone will come and be like, "Here's the timestamp." So, no, they don't care though. Here's the deal. I also want. I was interested in it. I was interested throughout it, but
Hmm.
at the same time, especially when we got to like the heart of it in the middle, I was like, "Where is this going?" I
Hmm.
feel like I should care a little more. Um, the the end
Hmm.
disappointed me.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the ending for sure when we get spoilers.
Yeah, what ended up happening disappointed me. I was like, we did all this for that. That's how
Hmm.
it felt to me.
Hmm.
So, and then an end can make or break a thing for a person.
For especially for a mystery,
Yeah,
which this is a mystery.
yeah, absolutely. I also did want or expect more from the romance. Obviously, it was more
Yeah.
nothing to do with that, and maybe that's on me. I get that.
Mhm.
I do think there were certainly bones in this, like you said, that I did really like, which is why I would never be a 1. But overall, my enjoyment wasn't quite where I wanted it to be.
Mhm.
So maybe it's harsh, but that's where I've landed. I will say I would read something else from this author.
Mhm.
I do think there's stuff to be built upon here, and there's important conversations also to be had here that
Mhm.
I think perhaps in her next book she will flesh out and do better with for me.
Mhm. Yeah, and real quick, this is I was thinking this as you were talking um about, which I know we'll get into it in the spoilers in just a second, but when you said like, oh, there are starts of really interesting conversations, particularly one she has with David, her friend, which we'll get to in a moment. But the other reason it reminded me of Imogen and what I didn't like was it felt, and this is so tricky because I want to be clear without going into both of our lives and what we believe or don't believe. It doesn't really matter. But like from my perspective, I feel like everything the people in this town and this church did are very realistic. I don't think there was anything in here that was like not something that happens all the time, especially in this country, especially in parts of the country that are very cut off from the rest. Like rural PA is like very rural. People think of the South often like that, but rural PA is Appalachia. I mean, that is Appalachia. Um, it felt like with Imogen, one of the issues I had with the book was because I knew Becky's experience, it felt a bit like a rant, and like it could have been more interesting and had better conversations, but her own feelings were a bit too intense, and her editor wasn't like, let's round this out or let's give this a little more breathing room. And so it came across as a rant. And I will say that's my biggest drawback is this one also kind of felt like part of its brevity was because it was a rant where we couldn't let these moments breathe because it might go against what the narrator's perspective was, and maybe what the author's, I don't know, but maybe what the author's perspective is. This is so interesting, just real quick, because it's not a spoiler, but I thought you were going to bring this up and then you didn't. And so didn't. I forgot about it myself, but there's no trigger warnings. And let me tell you, there are some incredibly traumatic things that happen in this book.
Well, and I
In
think I listened to the audiobook, so I didn't even like maybe
Oh yeah,
reading
yours
that I
probably
would have
didn't
really
either.
noticed it, But yeah, that's messed up. That's messed up.
But she does have, this is why I'm like, it feeds into my narrative, which might be my bias. It's a bit ranty. It has a historical end note about the Satanic Panic, which is very interesting, and I definitely think you should read it. But I'm like, you should have had just as much care in warning the reader, because it's this well thought out holistic thing, as you did to tack on that, hey, all of this is realistic. And it's like, it is realistic, but also it deserved a warning and to be treated like a full story with full characters. So I just wanted to add that, because like that was another, as you were talking, I was like, yeah, that reminds me of the Becky thing, where things felt very cut off because it felt a bit ranty at times. I still stick with 3.5 myself, but I can totally see everything that you said in your drawback, and I can see why you landed on that. How was the audiobook though, for people who might want to
I
read
did
that
actually.
way?
I really like the narrator. I
Oh,
think
cool.
she did a great job. So if you, and it's a short audiobook because it's a short book,
It's such
right?
a short book, yeah.
Yeah. So I did breeze through the audio, and I will say that was a really good selling point. So yeah, if you want to read it,
Awesome.
I would recommend it. I did get it from Audible. Even I had a credit, so I was like, okay,
Oh, that's
let's
right.
do it.
Oh, I heard that
I
on
didn't get it from my library. Yeah, they
your
didn't
reading
have it.
update. Mine didn't have it. They didn't have the physical either. I actually might donate this copy to the library. Um, cool. Well, we'll move into the book report. We'll give some spoilers. If I think there were a few people who did read the book based on some of their comments. So if you do want to put in the chat what you would give it and some of your thoughts, feel free to do that, and we'll catch up on them in a minute. But yeah, warning for spoilers. We'll move into the book report, dive into some of the specifics, particularly the ending, because it is a mystery. So if you don't want to be spoiled, come back later or in 20 minutes. So, Kristen, you had a few that you kind of started talking about. One was with David, if you wanted to start there.
Yeah. Let me get caught up really quick.
Okay.
Wait until we finish my study. You will love it.
I'm loving following
The best.
Mara's Instagram is like
It's great.
HGTV, but like for millennials.
Yeah,
Loving it.
it's so good. It's
Yeah.
so good. Just the beginning, did you show your big assed phone? How's it for you? I didn't. It's off to the side, Dad. I'm still waiting on my case. I got a new phone. We're phone twins now, my dad and I.
Oh, cute.
There's a pretty good
Are
documentary
you going to
about
get all black
Satanism.
phone cases?
It is a black phone, but mine will be blue.
Ooh, cute.
Called Hail Satan.
Oh, okay. I'll put it
Hey,
in
I'll
my
look that up.
letterbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I would recommend Name of the Wind even without book 3. I hope we get there eventually, but the journey is definitely worth it either way. I'm going to do it, Batmanda. It's happening. We didn't celebrate Halloween / go trick or treating because it was Satan worship.
Did you do trunk or treat? Do you know
Or you
some
got no
churches did that?
treats. No treats at
No,
all.
they gave
Sad.
treats. What?
No, I mean, or did they get no treats? Because there was this
Oh.
house on our neighborhood that was a big house. Well, not our neighborhood, kind of like a block or two away.
Mm-hmm.
And they would always like go lights out for Halloween. Like, don't come here. We don't
Oh.
have candy. We don't celebrate.
Did they put like a sign out front?
I think they did. Yeah.
Oh.
It's like, okay.
Weirdly we were allowed, but I do know a lot of kids growing up, including my cousins. So
Mm.
it's not specific to, it's individual people when they grow up. You know, they have things they're particular about, and some people are a little more relaxed.
Here's the deal, Rand. And I did say, here's the deal, didn't I?
I think we all, I wish I had a button on my desk that was like Kristen saying, here's the deal. And I'm muted on meetings a lot and work, and I would just hit it when I'm internally thinking, like, going off on this person. Like, here's the
Ooh,
deal.
love that.
Yeah. Because you know how, like, when people, I feel like it's often women. It's one of my favorite, like, things when somebody goes, so let me just make sure I understand this. And it's like, girl, you understand it so well.
Here's the deal.
You're, in fact, the only one who understands this, but you're just trying to get everybody to make sure they understand it. Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Clarifying question. When you said this, anyway,
Yeah.
it's a good one.
Per my last email.
Yeah. Richard's here to say hi and bye. Looking forward to catching up with any and all rants later. Richard, thanks for popping in.
We may rant. We may rave.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm happy off until I read the book. Mara,
Bye, Mara.
forward to your thoughts.
Yeah, I do want to see what she rates it.
People who don't celebrate Halloween really bug me.
It's one of my favorite holidays for sure.
It's a good one.
I do love Christmas the most, but it's after that.
Understandable.
So, David, what you thinking?
Yes.
What are your spoilery thoughts?
Yeah, so And I have to say, when the conversation came toward the end, okay, throughout this, David is like her bestie at school. Again, like the only friend she really has that she's close to. They both bond over queerness and, just life in general. And he's lovely and you love him. Um, but was
And his
his,
sister. I really liked his sister a lot.
I did too. I was
I
like, we
was
need
like,
more of the
"Oh, I would
sister.
read all about her." Yeah.
Yeah. I want a side book with him and his sister. That'd be
And
great.
if his sister went missing, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I would solve her disappearance.
I would care a lot about that. Yeah, she was awesome. Not enough of the sister, 100%. 100 more pages on the sister alone.
Mm-hmm. Spin-off
Yeah.
novella.
Was his religion revealed before that in conversation? Like, was he
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm also a Christian?
Yeah.
Did I just miss that?
Yeah, he talked about how when she talked about how that church was nuts after the Hell House, he was like, yeah, the churches here all are. That's why my parents drive us to this church that's like a
Mm,
Spanish speaking church in another town.
gotcha. Okay. So that was brought up toward the end. Um,
Hmm.
I think our main character was just like making a blanket statement about,
She basically says, I hate all effing Christians. That's what she
right,
says. Hmm.
right. And he was like, hi, that includes me.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? That's actually me. And then
Hmm.
she got mad at him for being that, like, just being himself and saying that, right? And then so they stopped talking for a while.
She kind of, I think the way I saw it was she sort of got embarrassed, which made her defensive really quickly.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it was.
And they did come back together and have this what's felt like a start of a conversation of, yeah, just because like you can't blanket everybody into
Mhm,
like
mhm,
this group of like they're all terrible because
mhm,
XYZ, or because one person or this group of people treated you really poorly doesn't
mhm,
mean someone who believes similarly will do
mhm,
that to you.
mhm,
So we had the start of that conversation with those two because they did reconnect. But I felt like this could keep going. Like this could have been deeper and could have been more fleshed out because that would have been a really great conversation, especially when you spent like the majority of this book being like, yo, look at how crazy these people are, right? Like, like
crazy, but in a less fun way.
right.
There's no Happy Meal toy with this
Not at all.
place.
Like, so that was kind of ended up being
Mhm,
a letdown because it was like, oh, this is like the start of a really good conversation. But I
I
felt like
agree.
there could have been like more of that.
No, I totally agree. I also think the same with Elle. Like, so in David, you get someone who identifies as a Christian, but who believes very differently from the that church, and also acts differently towards other people. Um, he also is critical of his religion. He says, like, I don't believe everything XYZ, but I do think XYZ. And I thought that was really good and interesting. And then I think similarly with Elle, in the flashback chapters you get where she raises the example I gave earlier was Ryan, her boyfriend at the time, who's like the youth minister, is like, I was praying and God told me, like, we're meant to be together. And she was like, I feel like God would have told me also, because I'm 16 years old right now. And she has this conversation with her dad, who's like, are you questioning him? Are you questioning God? And she's like, just trying to be a bit more logical about it. And she's not saying, like, I don't believe in God. She's not saying anything like that. She's just kind of questioning, and he sort of freaks out. And I think her questioning could have been more interesting throughout, where it's not that she's entirely losing her faith, but her faith is changing and evolving. It's deconstructing and becoming something different. And I think that could have been a more interesting thing to follow. Or she may have decided this isn't for me at all, which is also totally valid and would have been interesting to watch. Because just to bridge really quickly, I know you'll talk about the ending, but I will say her dad and mom are interesting characters. We'll save her dad. I know you wanted to talk about how things ended with him, but her mom is a bit more level headed, you see throughout the course of the story. And so even maybe a chapter where she's having a conversation with her mom would have been kind of interesting. But like you said, we don't get those conversations. Didn't have much time to breathe, and be too contextualized. They were pretty black and white quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and as far as the ending, we want to skip there.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we know the whole time that Elle's dad, something's going on with Elle's dad because he's wild, right? Like
He's
he's,
like Carrie's mom, but the male version, and with
yeah,
power because he's the minister.
he's the most extreme out of all of the characters, and it's not good. So the whole time you're like, okay, something's going on with him. Like at least I assumed he was very much involved in wherever she went, right? Well, we kind of find out that, again, her mom being more level headed, her mom was like, we need to get you out of here and hide you from your dad, essentially. And was it a, what was the place she was in? What was it called?
I can't remember what it was called.
What was it like? I can't think of a word for it.
Like a safe house.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So her mom like hides her there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say as well, I was listening to it. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of the end got muddied for me. So I do wonder, was it more clear to someone
No,
reading it? Okay.
no. It was really fast, like reveal after reveal, scene after scene, people coming in and out of scenes very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So eventually there's like a big kind of
Yeah.
showdown,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, right?
Yes.
Ryan is there, the youth pastor boyfriend
So
situation.
yeah, and Ryan is a good red herring, I will say, throughout the book. That was something I really liked. Do you think it could be him? Because he's like, God told me you're supposed to marry me. And then she's like, hi, I'm 16. And so he's like, there's a conflict, right? And he wants to be around her. You also know she wasn't really into him because she has this conversation with her friend Monica, who BTW is very chill when Elle
Oh,
essentially comes out to
super
her.
chill.
She
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I think she was was she the one who played D&D? And so she was like, yeah, I get it. I
Yeah.
play D&D.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. I was like,
Same,
oh, okay.
same.
Same thing.
Um, but yeah, Ryan's a red herring. And then you learn though later from Ryan, like he sees something wrong with the pastor as well. So that's kind of how he intersects in this big showdown.
Yeah. And, talking about the side characters again, speaking of Ryan, we hear some of his backstory that really makes you feel for how he is as well and how
Oh,
he believes, right? It's like he, from a very young age, was messed up from like all of this, kind of understandably, right? So you
mhm.
certainly, the moments we get of that and where we find those things out made you feel for him more, which was nice. But at the same time, I feel like we still didn't get, it's like a lot of these side characters were interesting, were very interesting,
Very.
including the mom, including the dad, but there wasn't enough of them,
Hmm.
right? We didn't get them fleshed out to the point where we could have cared more about them individually.
And I think with Ryan, yeah, I mean, I agree. I do agree with that, but I don't think I needed to care about Ryan. I think part of Ryan's stand-in, I actually think Ryan was one of the best, most well done characters for what his role was. He's a red herring that you're following throughout. He also is a character that once Audra talks to him, he isn't quite as controlling, he isn't quite as violent, and he isn't quite as extreme in his beliefs. I'm not saying his beliefs are not perceived as problematic to her, but he's not like the minister in that sense of extremeness. And I think the stand in for, I don't remember if it was him, was he the hot sauce character? It's hard to remember. I know L.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
When you would say something, when my dad was little, my grandmother washed his mouth out with soap if he used a word that was like a curse word or said something bad. So in Ryan's childhood, I think it was Ryan, but one example of kind of what Kristen's talking about the way he was brought up is they would pour hot sauce on their tongue and like have to hold it there as a way of like training it out of someone. And there were more extreme examples actually in Ryan's childhood. But you know what's interesting when they confront Ryan, and this is why I think he's well done. He's like, no, they were just teaching me like how to be good. Like there are consequences if I do XYZ. So they were teaching me in a safe space. Even even without being as delusional as the minister, who clearly, in anyone's standards, was violent once Kristen talks about what's about to happen. He's still like, I think that's really relatable. I think many of us think things are like normal growing up, whatever the context is. And it could be something small and funny, and it could be something big and traumatic. And then you're like, you get to be an adult and you're like, oh, that was not, and that had unintended consequences. And I think 10 years from now, especially after what happens in this book, a character like Ryan will grow. But I think for me, Ryan was the best character because I think he did exactly his job, which is a weird thing to say because I wouldn't have thought that at the beginning.
Yeah, and that's understandable. One thing I do want to ask about Ryan, did we ever get a sense of like his actual age?
I think he was like 19, maybe
Okay, so
20.
it's also creepy.
They overlapped, I think, at school at one point.
Mm,
What was odd, I think he was the youth minister, which usually there's a bit more separation, but again, I don't. It's the 90s in rural PA, so I'm honestly not sure
sure.
what the norm is there.
Yeah, so there's
Oh, a
some extra.
women's shelter. Thank you, Crazed, about
Yeah,
where total
yeah,
blank.
thank you. Oh, like Carrie's mom, but the male version is literally how I would describe my dad to people often. Yikes cycle.
Yeah,
I
yikes on
feel for
that for
you.
sure.
I only remember the one church event that was around the time of Halloween that we were allowed to dress up, but I don't remember
Okay.
treats. Sad. Oh, I understood
17.
17.
I thought
That's less creepy.
I thought he was like 18 or 19 because I thought he'd graduated. I guess you can graduate when you're 17, I guess.
Hmm.
Because he wasn't in the high school anymore, was he?
See,
If we're going to trust anyone's memory, though, it's going to be crazy.
it's
Let's
going to be
totally
crazy.
be honest about this.
Well, I was going to say, like, some of those little facts, too, I feel like were kind of muddied about.
Oh, because it was so quick. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and speaking of the ending, the exact, like, play by play of the ending, I'm not going to be able to tell you.
Well, you can just give the overall that the yeah, you don't have to do a play by
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, pretty much Ryan. What? I don't even remember the weapon situation. Was it a gun? Was it a gun? I don't even know.
There was a gun involved.
There was
Yeah.
a gun. Because the dad died, right?
Well, the dad. Yeah,
See,
the
I don't
dad
even know what
gets
happened.
no. Hold on. Grace is like, y'all, let me type this out because you don't know the order of events.
Because I'm like, I don't know. And you're like, wait, let's look. Crazed is like, here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
The dad does get shot. Ryan, I believe, is the one who shoots him. I could,
Yeah,
feel
that's what
free
I
to correct us if I'm
remember.
wrong. But he doesn't die instantly. Remember, he gets back up, which is
Yes.
true. This is where the horror movie stuff comes back around at the
Right,
end.
right.
'Cause
Got
she
it.
makes reference to that. And then is it the Ryan? Because it's like I remember this part. When I first met Ryan, I thought he was our final girl. Or he was our villain. In real life, he is our final girl. I liked that part. Um, yeah, he took the shot at the end, Ryan. So maybe it's the mom that does the first shot, and then Ryan does the second. Everyone, we did read this book. I read it a week ago, but I did read it.
Well, I feel like, and I also like finished it a week ago, but I feel like this is also a testament, not just to our memory, but
hmm
to how quickly and kind of chaotic that ending was.
It was very chaotic. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with that. I'm like really struggling. Somebody.
Oh, yeah, same.
Anyways, the cult in the woods is not a cult in the woods, which was Kristen's big disappointment, I think.
It was a disappointment because I was like, yay, cults.
But my
It was like,
disappointment was I thought the dad was leading like a sub cult of the church. That was like that was my high hope
I thought that was happening too.
because I was like, I don't think it's actually like Satanists in the woods. They don't do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be something more than that. Anyways, there's also an epilogue which I got excited about because I was like, oh, but it's really not much of anything. So that's a bit of a bummer. I did like this. I would like to end our spoilery thoughts on it, unless you have other spoilery thoughts.
No, I'm good.
I thought this was good. The mom is talking to them as everyone's being like wheeled away in the ambulance and everything's getting sorted out. And she says, "You can't fix a broken system by pretending it isn't broken. If your system protected a dangerous man, you have to reevaluate," which I thought was really good, because, like, I think a character like Ryan in a future book could choose a different path than the minister did. So I did really like that
Yeah.
piece.
What real quick, what was the phrase that her mom had about full bellies?
Uh,
You're like, don't quiz me.
that's so random. I don't remember.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Vaguely.
Okay. Anyway, I liked it. Good times. No one who didn't read it knows what I'm talking about. It's okay. That's my bad.
Crazed is like, let me write an essay real quick to correct all of you for the
And
stuff
hello,
that you've
Bar.
done.
I feel like I haven't seen Bar in the chat in a while.
Oh,
How
hey,
you
Bar.
doing?
I don't think does she usually come at this time for Sunday? I
I
don't think
don't.
so. I have no clue what time it is, but I hope you're doing okay, Bar.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I think that's our thoughts.
Those are our thoughts. So let's go to the pumpkin. Oh, again, if you've read it, let us know your thoughts. But
Please.
let's go to the pumpkin patch. Let's talk about what did you recently pick up? What are you currently picking up, Kristen? And then folks in the chat, what are you picking up
Yeah.
to read?
Well, as you saw my spoopy reads earlier, I do want to pick up one or two of those to reread at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I did grab three things off my shelf that I've been wanting to read for a while, and they've just been sitting there. One of them being Octopus Pie.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, so I picked this up a while back. I know several people who are often in our chat really like it. I think Chris is one who really likes it. And it's the adventures of two Brooklynites, Eve, a nerdy 20 something, and her roommate, Hannah, long lost friend who's blossomed into happy go lucky stoner. Praise childhood rivals, art rolled hipsters. It just seems like something that's my vibe,
Yeah,
right?
that's cute.
Yeah, it
Has
just
Reed
seems
read it?
cool. He's not. I feel like
Okay.
he may like this as well.
Yeah.
So that's been sitting there. I want to read that, as well as something you may enjoy me pulling up.
I can't
Here's
see
some.
it. Your picture
You can't.
froze. Oh,
Oh. This is
Moomin.
Moomin in Family Life, as
Love.
well as Moomin Begins a New Life. So
Wait,
these
hold
are
on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. You got the complete collection, one and two, and the books
listen.
included, but just by themselves?
I believe I got these for one reason and one reason alone. You ready? They're full color.
I hate it because now I'll need it.
And the collections are not full color. And I believe these are really cheap. What's the list on these?
Yeah, they're very cheap. There's a
$10.
lot on
Yeah.
IST. Listen, y'all, if you don't do Moomins, treat yourself. Grab you a little Moomin to get you to $50. Get that free shipping.
Yeah. And that's why I think I'm going to just pick these up because I do have the Honkin' collections, which I've read a little from, but I'm like, you know what? These have been sitting there. I love that they're full color.
Yeah, I love that too.
So I'm going to go through them because then maybe I'll be obsessed and need to get all the little full colors, you know?
And then you'll just have it in two formats.
Why not? It's in
Oversized black
color.
and white
Jessica's
and
in
small
color.
No, I get it. Craze has corrected us about what happened, and we were
Oh,
all
Grace is like,
incorrect.
listen, here's what's going on. Okay. Audrey stabs him with the scissors, and Ryan turns on the incinerator when they get back to the mortuary. Right, because like they like put his body in there, and they're just like, "Bye, he's dust."
I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no memory of that part. I know
I
I
don't
read this.
either. I remember that part, what I just said, but not this part.
Here's the deal. I did drive for 13 hours on Friday, and everything that happened before then was in another life. Not good.
I get it. Thank
Is
you,
that what she
Grace, for
says?
being here. We appreciate that.
Girl, if you weren't here, none of these people would know what happened in this book.
Truly,
They're like,
and we
I
wouldn't
spaced
either. We wouldn't either.
spoilers. Know what the ending is.
It's
Oh,
9 p.m. right now. Kristen usually does the streams in the middle of the night for me. I'm glad it's not the middle of the night, though. That's
yeah.
nice.
Well, we're always here.
Yeah.
I guess we started at probably 8 p.m. your time. So join us for the autumnal in 2 weeks, Bar.
Please.
I love that for you. I'm excited to hear about your Moomin's journey again.
Thank you. I'll definitely keep you updated. The oddly
Oh,
pedestrian life of Christopher Chaos is a pretty Pretty good book, guys. Definitely read it when it comes out in trade. Yeah, you've been talking about that one. I want to read it for sure.
That's a great title.
Yeah. Okay. What did you want to pick
What
up?
is up, Bar? Tell us. Well, on the way here, I did do one audiobook, and it was My Sister the Serial Killer. Can't pronounce
Ooh,
that last name.
I've been wanting to
Don't do
read
it.
this.
No. I'm gonna just briefly. I'm not gonna talk forever
Please
about
tell me.
this. This
Please.
is like a 3 star. I gave it 3 stars, I think. So this book takes place in Lagos, and it's like in the style of a Nollywood, Nigerian Hollywood. So it's supposed to be very soapy if you're not familiar with Nollywood. And I got so excited. And it's like this girl, the setup is this woman. She works at a hospital. I think she cleans at the hospital. She's in love with one of the doctors at the hospital. It's basically Grey's Anatomy. I'm just kidding. It's way crazier. Her sister has a history of murdering the men she's dating. And she always says, like, they're abusive or they're controlling or whatever. And they do live in a very patriarchal society with almost no women's rights organizations. So at first, the sister believes her. And this isn't a spoiler. She's like murdered 3 people, like at the start of the book. um, and then who does the sister become interested in? This girl's crush at the hospital. So normally the sister helps her clean up, make sure there's no evidence. And now it's somebody she loves. And so what will she do? And this is just all I'm going to say is like the prose is really interesting. I was really attracted to the idea of reading a thriller, but set in a different culture and context. And like those things were pretty interesting. But I cannot tell you that by the time you get to the end of this book, I thought about Mary a lot. I actually need to message her because I was rooting for no one. I was only rooting for the protagonist the whole way through. But then I was like, everyone should just die. This is terrible.
Oh, no.
But I've seen the book is really polarizing. When I looked at people's reviews, it was like 1 and 2 stars and like 5 stars. It was really short. I did learn a lot about Lagos and the healthcare system there. So that was really interesting. Um, but it was kind of disappointment. The one you had messaged me, like, what was the other thriller? Because I told you I'm doing the drive with someone else, so I can only control so much. Like, and I had her co-pick like what we were doing. The other one that we started but only got 20% in. I'm hoping it's still available through the library when we go back. Is called "When No One Is Watching" by Alyssa Cole, which is a thriller about gentrification in Brooklyn. So pretty interesting.
Mm.
So I'll get to those. But what am I picking up and hoping to read? I am hoping to read Good Night, Mr. Tom. I'm 2 chapters in. This is by Michelle Magorian. This was recommended by Craze. It took me forever to find it, but I found it at a Goodwill. And it's essentially about a child from Britain that's sent off to the countryside during the bombings during World War II. And he comes from, this is not a spoiler, it's in the first chapter. He's coming from a really abusive home. I don't know all the details because I've just started reading, but he comes into the care of Mr. Tom, who's an older gentleman in the countryside. He's got this really cute dog. That's all I know so far. So I heard this will make you cry your eyes out. I heard I'll be traumatized. Grace was like, "Are you sure this is the right time to be reading this?" And I was like, "No time like the present." In my head, I thought it would be cozy, but yeah, I can see what she's saying. But I'm still enjoying it, and I do hope to finish it physically. It's the one book I brought with me up here, so we'll see. Have you heard of this?
Wow. I haven't
This,
heard of that.
this is the movie cover. Apparently,
I was
it's
going
got
to say it's a weird cover.
it's a TV movie adaptation. I think it's bigger
Oh,
in England than it is here, actually, because this copy's from the UK. It's
interesting.
hard to find a US copy.
That's funny you stumbled upon it at Goodwill, too.
Yeah, I think it was Peddler's Mall actually. But what's weird
Oh,
is like Craze read this as a kid, but that would have been even harder to get the book than you would think in the
yeah.
US. So it's really interesting, but
Hmm.
it's got great reviews. I'm really excited. The TV production was from ITV, so maybe I'll watch it after I'm done with the book.
Nice.
Um, yeah,
Love that. Okay. We did the pumpkin patch.
we picked them.
We picked
How
those.
will they go? One of mine was rotten. No, just this one's
We'll
going to be a
see.
carved masterpiece.
I
It's going
mean,
to be a
apparently.
jack-o'-lantern with tears
Oh,
coming down.
beautiful. Well, if
Yes.
you all have picked anything from the pumpkin patch that you're going to read, that you've been reading, let us know in the comments,
Yeah,
please.
please do.
And please join us next time for the autumnal. I know Elon
Mm.
is very excited about it, I believe.
I am
Maybe other
too.
people. Yeah, me too.
I'm hoping for a winner because, like, they've been middle for me. They haven't been awful, but
Yeah.
they've been kind of middling, and I'm like, I really, because I think everyone we picked for this show we haven't read. I'm having high hopes for the second half, so they better
Me too.
live up to them. But that is October 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. where Bar lives. Um, and I think it's less than 12 issues, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, I
So
think
it should be a quick read.
max 12. I'm it may
Yeah.
be a little under, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that.
We love it. So join us then.
Please do.
Yeah.
And until next time, have a good Sunday, guys.